case is real. What city was that in?
I can't think of the city, but they've been asking for, this has been going on for 2 years, I found out, and they've been asking for the closed caption of what actually went on in Walmart, and nobody, the district attorney will not supply it. At first they wanted to do a plea bargain with her, and she refused to do it, and so that's when they decided they were going to give her 15 years to cut the line.
Let me say this, and normally I wouldn't use this as an example, but some of y'all in here know about this sheriff in that little town in Texas that put hundreds of black men in jail by framing them with drugs.
Right. Like I had got police ask me where I got crack cocaine in L.A.
And if it wasn't for that white dude, that investigative reporter that talked about how they tortured them.
The John Burns case you talked
Yes, okay. And found out how many of them. So it happens all over. Every now and then they get caught. Have y'all heard about that little town in Pennsylvania, all white, where all them judges just got busted because they found out they was in cahoots with the white companies in New York that build the jails, and then they wanted to build youth center jails.
Right.
And all these white, this one white girl said,
It's the capitalism.
I had, 5 months. How long
In the hands of
sin. 5 years. And so if they do that to white, what are you going to do to us? You must remember one thing that I never learned until I went south in the civil rights movement. In the South, they don't care how close you get as long as you don't get too big. That was proved by slavery. I'm living on the same piece of land he lived on. He called his a whole called my plantation. I was living in the shack, he was living in the big house. We was living together. Up north, they don't care how big I get as long as I don't get too close. Okay, same. Now, let me show you how it works. I couldn't understand in the civil rights movement why them white folks blowing up churches, killing black folks and white folks in the struggle, killing 2 civil rights workers, 2 white and 1 black. And I realized why. They live close enough to me in the South to say, if you give them niggas the right to vote, they'll be in the White House. They was right. They was right. And y'all can sit here with all your little cuteness, but imagine if I waved a magic wand and all you black and white folks in here become dirt poor, white folks with no education, can't read, can't write, living in the poor of the land. And up until Obama, you could always say, well, at least I ain't no nigger. You can't say that no more. Imagine what they're going through. And we just came out of New York.
White poverty.
Research. And for the first time in history, first time this year, that 50% of all women that was killed by their husbands or boyfriends. This is, so you got the economy thing, plus you got this projection thing, and then all at once, if y'all would just do me a favor, go to the store this week and go to the dog food section and buy a can of Alpo. Just don't look at it, buy it to show your friends. They taking the dog off Alpo because more human beings, particularly white folks, is eating more dog food than dogs. Now, the pride, I don't want to talk about it. I want to go through. So this whole mix, and I'm telling y'all, if this thing don't change.
Poverty. Famine.
We got one set of rules for black folks, another set of rules for white folks, another set of rules for women. When I looked at Jeremiah Wright, when they were saying, well, how come you didn't leave the church? And the boy, like I said, he's just kind and nice, because he asked me that. I just said, well, I didn't see no Catholic priests and nuns leaving the church when the priest got caught. So why I got to be different? Hillary asked the question. I got on the radio and said, Miss Hillary, whatever Jeremiah was doing, he wasn't breaking the law. What your husband got caught doing in the White House, that was a violation of the law. And he insulted and he shamed you and your daughter around the world. You didn't leave him. So the rules changed. Now, let me just close.
Hypocrisy, genuine and honesty.
The question you asked is getting a lot of attention. And something will happen. The reason the justice of the peace or the judge had to step down is getting attention. Getting attention. Whole lots of stuff happened that we don't know. The three people, that's the cause of slavery in the Civil War before Lincoln was one. I don't know why I can't think of his name. Regan, come on. I just after his award for Bill Cosby. Huh? Mark Twain. Y'all don't know what Mark Twain is. Mark Twain was born on Halley's Comet. It comes every 75 years. 75 years later, he died on Halley's Comet. What did he do? He wrote these books, and unbeknown to most folks, he was the first writer that refused to write with that old English style. Huh? He wrote Southern, Midwestern America. And when he wrote Huck Finn, Nigger Jim, if you don't understand his intelligence and where he was coming from, you see, before he said Nigger Jim, all black folks was nigger. Come here, nigger. And when that white boy said nigger, all y'all looked. Because nigger didn't have a name. I was Cochise nigger. And then Mark Twain came through for the first time in the history of America and gave nigger a name. This nigger is named Jim. Huh? It's the first time that ever happened. And if you go back and read Huck Finn, you notice when they're sitting on the riverbank fishing, it's the first conversation of a black and a white as human beings. He wasn't talking to him like you own me, and he wasn't putting the worms on his fish hook. And when the white boy caught the fish, he didn't debone it. They was two human beings. Now, number two, Harriet Beecher Stowe. See, we forget that 94% of white folks in America never owned slaves. So they didn't know what slaves went through until she wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin, and them white folk got to read what Uncle Tom went through, and the atmosphere changed. Okay? So you got a black man that has a name for the first time, then she comes around and tells you who didn't know. And then when you go way back down before that, John Brown. Y'all talk about heroes if you want. John Brown. John Brown. See, I didn't know Harper's Ferry. The raid took place on October the 16th, 150 years ago, this 16th of October. 18 months before the Civil War. John Brown was a preacher. Y'all talking about some radical Islamic? He woke up one day and said, God told me to free him. And he got him a little posse together, a little group, including his sons, and raided Harper's Ferry. It was one of the two places in America where the government stored ammunition. And he went there where there was 100,000 guns and said, we're going to get these guns and give them to the slaves. How 16 people going to get? But the fear was so frightening.
Today.
They got him. They killed most of them. His two sons shot him. Got him a
Got any
trial,
guns?
Sentenced him to die.
Drug sprung guns.
And
Got
they
any
hanged
guns?
him on December the 2nd. And this come December 2nd, I'm going to be at the very spot in Charlestown, West Virginia, where he died. Just to say to his spirit, we got you. Let me tell you what happened. As he walked out of the jail to go be hanged, he slipped a note to the newspaper reporter that read, for what you're doing to the black people, you will pay for it with your blood. And 16 months later, the Civil War. And when them Union soldiers was fighting, what front to kill or be killed. John Brown, that's how important he was. You don't know it now because that part is here.
Yeah.
If you go to Washington, D.C., go to Lincoln Memorial. He's known all over the world for the Emancipation Proclamation. There's people that know of Lincoln and never knew he was president. If you look at that huge Lincoln Monument, not one word up there about the Emancipation Proclamation. Okay? Only in America. Only in America. And so, have this thing changed? You see, I don't need to be validated by nobody. There's a universal God force. My validation's already in. Not what I can sit here and tell you. I only think I got one bad blemish on my thing. I don't pay my bills. Now, I don't know if the real God's into that. If it is, then I got some explaining to do. But I don't know if y'all remember when that tree fell on my car, squashed it down, and everybody thought I was dead. And I got out the hospital that night. They ran all the checks, and the press was there with a huge picture of the car. And they said, Mr. Gregory, how do you explain that you're not dead? Well, they thought I was going to do what most Negroes do, which ain't nothing wrong. Jesus, I didn't say that. I said, I owe white folk too much money. just my Neiman Marcus account. Now, I say that to say this. 40 years ago, when I'm running in Mississippi for my life, did I ever believe that I could stand here tonight and tell you, in Mississippi tonight, a black man's head of Mississippi State Troopers, black woman's head of social services, did I ever think I would see today that white folks would ask me to comment on white folk problems? I'm coming back from Europe 3 weeks ago, and CNN's there at Kennedy. I mean, Gregory, you think we'll ever catch Bin Laden? I said, we. I ain't looking for him. I'm still trying to find out who my daddy is.
Right on, bro.
Thank you so much.
Make your problem our problem. We go solve it ourselves. Collective force.